What if your greatest setback was actually the spark that you needed to propel yourself forward towards purpose? Today, we're sitting down with a good friend of mine, Jacob Brown, that talks to audiences around the world on the importance of turning your roadblocks into rocket fuel, ultimately proving that failure, that word that we don't like to say, isn't the end of the story, but it's the beginning of resilience, reinvention, and a life of growth. Welcome to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle King. And the goal of this podcast is to help you create an ecosystem of academic excellence through inspiring conversations, practical strategies, and actionable insights. We empower educators, leaders, and change makers just like yourself, foster trust, collaboration, so that you can ultimately have the tools, methodologies, and tricks to create an ecosystem of academic excellence. Now, not just for yourself, but for the people that we were sent and called to serve. Jacob Brown, how are you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm good, Kyle. So nice to meet you again, man. And we always have great conversations. I'm very excited about today's podcast.
Man, I appreciate you as always. And first, I just want to note your quality of camera is is absolutely amazing, and it talks to who you are as a person. The quality of camera, the quality of speeches, the quality of a man that you are, the quality character. And I just want to just give you your flowers live right now and just say I've learned so much from you, not just as a speaker and as a business professional, but as a human being. And I recognize by just listening and reading your posts and listening to your speeches and having the conversations with you that I truly believe that my failure has moved me forward. But before we get into my testimony and my story, can you just introduce yourself to people and just talk to them about what is your mission in
Yeah.
this world?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for that incredible introduction. I really appreciate that. I don't think we as men do that enough. We don't really appreciate each other enough, especially in public or in private. So Kyle, thank you. That meant a lot to me. For those who don't know me, my name is Jacob Brown. I'm a former NFL athlete turned serial entrepreneur. I was a creative director for about 16 years and spun that into motivational speaking. I'm a coach. I coach other speakers and also other coaches. And I'm also an author. Authored my first book last year. It is called Fail Forward Mentality. You can find that on my website or on Amazon. I'm currently authoring my second book called Avocado Leadership. I'm sure we'll probably get into that later into the podcast. But my sole mission and goal is to empower and to encourage all human beings to go further, to do more, and to fail forward. A lot of people don't like that word fail. They really don't like that word fail. So I have kind of spun that word into an acronym. And that word means to fuel your ambition and ignore your limitations. Fuel your ambition and ignore your limitations. I firmly believe that a lot of people they feel as though their failures are the end, right? When they mess up, when they make mistakes, when they drop the ball, when they hit reply all on accident, right? They believe that their world is over. But realistically, those are learning moments. Those are moments that you can take and use as fuel to propel yourself forward. One of my favorite speakers, Eric Thomas, talks about every time you fail, it's like you're in a slingshot and you're getting pulled back and back. But as soon as you let go and let God, that's when you fly. So that's when you fail forward. That's my mission. That's who I am. And I'm excited to chat today.
Nah, I definitely appreciate you. You know, you've lived a lot of lives,
Yeah.
um, from NFL, athlete to creative director to author to all of these various titles that you have assumed in your life at the various seasons.
Yeah.
My question for you though is, what was your slingshot moment? What was that first failure that you recognized that really pulled you back, made you go through an unpacking and an unlearning process to be able to put you to where you are today?
I would say my first fail forward moment, slingshot moment, was when I was cut and released from the Oakland Raiders.
Hmm.
You see, I was 22 years old, going on 23. Football was all I knew. It was all I did from the time I was 6'7", to the time I was 22, 23 years old. And when I was cut, it was the first time I'd ever been cut from a team. I had always been the team captain. And when they released me, I realized that um, I was mortal. I thought I really thought I was immortal. I thought I was invincible. I thought I could do anything in the world. And that was the first time that I actually had to face my humility and in human side. And that taught me a lot about who I was and who I was not at that moment. Because for so long, I thought all I was a football player, when in reality, I was a human being that played football and did a lot of other things in life, which is something that I discovered over the last, I mean, geez, when was that? 2006, 19 years. I've learned a lot about myself, what I want, what I don't want in life, what I do, what I don't do in life. And it started with that fail forward slingshot moment.
That's good. There's somebody listening right now that is in their not just slingshot moment, but their slingshot season.
Yeah.
What did you do during the multitude of moments in your life to be able to go from turning this season or this feeling of failure and these seasons where you realized that you were mortal and going through this time of humility to turning it into fuel to be able to push you forward? Like, what were the steps?
I'll tell you what I did, and then I'll tell you what I wish I did when I was that age. What I did do was I tried to reach back into my bag, right? What did I love to do? I love to draw. I love to create. I went to school for graphic design. That's kind of what I fell back on, right? But I wish that I had failed forward earlier. I wish I had leaned into my passion and my purpose a lot sooner, and trusted my gifts, talents, and abilities a lot sooner, because it took me about a decade to really realize that I had a gift in some of the areas that I'm leaning into now, which is speaking, motivating, coaching, and authoring as well, and also creation. But I more so leaned into, okay, what was the safe thing to do? So what if you're in that moment where you feel like you're kind of in that valley, you feel like you're in that fail moment, you're in that slingshot moment, you've been pulled back. One of the things that I would suggest is find a mentor, find a coach, find someone that can see the field differently than what you might see it. A lot of people, that's what a coach does, right? I play football, I play basketball, I play baseball. And when you're on the field, it's very hard to see everything in your purview, your peripheral. But if you have a coach that's watching from the outside, they can tell you what you're missing, what you're not seeing. And I feel like if I had reached out to a mentor a lot sooner and just kind of showed them and share with them the lay of the land and what my gifts, talents, and abilities, they might have been able to point me in a direction a lot quicker than what I found my way years later down the line. And I firmly believe that mentors, people that have already done it, people that have been through the fire, they've been through the pressure, and they've been through the cutting. And that's my diamond analogy. Someone that's been through what you really are trying to do, they can get you there a lot quicker if you are willing and wise enough to listen.
I want to unpack that a little bit, because I love how you put that initially you went back into what was safe and what was essentially comfortable, went back into your bag.
Yeah.
But what you recognize is that you wish you would have failed forward.
Yeah.
Can you first define what it looks like to fail forward in this season, but then also talk about how failing forward will help you understand what type of mentor you need?
Yeah. Yeah. Failing forward for me is taking those risks that the voice in the back of your head tells you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not ready. When you take those risks, even if you don't make it, you learn. And when you learn, it's a lot easier the next time that you try. So this is 2006 when I kind of started to just, I went to a staffing agency. I got a quick job. I worked for the first 2.5 years of my life outside of football in a machine shop. Now, there were things that I learned in this machine shop, but I was not operating in the gifts and the talents and abilities that God gave me, right? I'm putting dies in a machine. I'm waiting 4 hours for them to come out, right? And I'm sitting around drinking coffee, talking with the other guys, right? I'm wasting a lot of time. But it wasn't until I stepped into what my career was, which was creative direction and leading other people, that I started to realize and started to make those changes and shifts into what I really wanted to do, because I started to get a little bit more brave. I was a little bit more knowledgeable, and I had a little bit more money to play around in order to be brave, right? But one of the things that I wish I had done was that a little sooner, because I would probably be about 5 years ahead of where I am now if I had started sooner. Because 2006 to 2012, I didn't start creating a company until 2012, a company called Noise, and it failed, but I learned so much when I created that company. It was a social media platform. You can Google it, a social media platform. And after about 3 months, I had launched this platform, and I had 140,000 or 40,000 people on the platform using it every day in 109 different countries.
Wow.
And the thing about it was, I didn't have the know-how or the knowledge to create an infrastructure to hold that many people at one given time. So it crashed. I didn't know how to market to get sponsorships. So, but if I had started sooner, at that point, I probably would have been a bit more successful. But all of that to say, the companies I've generated and created over the last 10 to 12 years have helped me propel the brand that we have now currently called Varlo, which is a cycling triathlon apparel brand. We just celebrated 5 years. We're in several REI stores. We are a global company. We represent several pro athletes all around the country, and we're off and running. We just celebrated 5 years, and things are good. But it came from the knowledge of the failing that I did early on in my career in order to sustain what we do now.
You know, it's interesting, Jacob, and knowing you for the time that I've known you, I didn't realize this until now. It's not that you just have been just blessed and gifted. And yes, you have gifts, and yes, you've had blessings. But what makes you different throughout all of these seasons was your mindset. What
Yes.
makes you different is that when you said that you got cut and it was your first slingshot moment, you had the mindset of first even going back, but then moving forward and then trying and then taking steps. Can you talk to us about the importance that mindset and an attitude and a perspective to move forward has in this process?
Yeah, yeah. It's very easy to, when you fail or when things don't work out, to just, go back to the same old, the normal, the comfortable. But anyone that has gone back and that's in the same old, the normal, the comfortable, they know, just like I know, that that is the most uncomfortable place to be. When you are doing the same mundane things every single day, when you don't feel like you're operating in your gifts, your talents, and abilities, when you feel like you're just going to a job day in and day out and you're just collecting a paycheck, that's no way to live for anyone. That is no way to live for anyone. And I got to a point where I was like, listen, I know what I'm capable of. I know what I can create, or I'm going to at least strive towards that. And I believe that a lot of that came from the way I grew up. So I was the middle child of seven. My dad was the sole provider. My mom raised all seven of us. We didn't have much. There's a period of time where my mom had $250 for school clothes for 5 kids. So we're going to Walmart, we're going to Goodwill, we're going to Kmart, we're trying to scrap up and scrape anything we can with $50 each for school clothes to last for 9 months. Now think about that.
That's crazy.
Right? And in my mind, I never wanted to go back to that, but also I never wanted my children to have to grow up like that. Now, my mom and dad did the best that they could with what they had, right? From a wisdom, from a knowledge, from a resources standpoint. And my goal is to do the best that I can with what I have so that my kids, their basement will be my ceiling. And I tell them that all the time. However far or high I could go, that is my ceiling, but that's your basement. That's where you will start off. And so my mindset was it was more than just my success. It was for generations to come after me.
Mm.
And also for what I had come through growing up, to make sure that that is not repeated again in my lineage, is at least.
Walk me through the moment that you realized you were such a gift in speaking.
You know, as a creative director, I would have one-on-ones with my teams. and then we would have Monday weekly stand-ups. And as I'm just sharing motivation for the week and giving affirmations to each of my people, and I'd see them light up, right? When I called their name, when I said something that they are working on that was good, I started to feel as though there was something inside me that I could transfer energy to motivate and encourage people to raise up a level, to go up the next level, to do things better. So much to the point where it got to the point where I started speaking life into my own employees in a way that I was almost telling them, you're too good for this job. There's another job I know that maybe we should get for you, even if it's outside of this company. Because ultimately I wanted the best for everyone around me, whether it helped me or not. And once I started to share and talk about these stories online and hashtag fail forward, this is back in 2014, I would say, 2013, 2014, that's when people started reaching out and asking me, hey, would you mind coming and speaking to my sales team? Would you mind coming speaking at our commencement, right? And it just started to snowball that way. And I would say probably around 2019 is where I got serious. And I said, there's something bigger than just here and there. I want to make something real of this. And that's when I created the Fail Forward brand.
I read something the other day, and I've been reminded of this so often about sometimes we're in the exact place where we can use our gift, but we're overlooking it because it's not where we want to be in that moment.
Yes.
And you used your gift at a job that you at that time probably didn't really care about to that perspective, but there was so much more and a calling from that. And just doing it on the daily, you recognize 5 years later that, hey, I have something here.
Yeah.
Can you talk to the person that's listening right now and that is overlooking the gift that is right in front of them?
Well, if you're anything like me, I'm a very spiritual man. And I firmly believe what the big book says. And the Bible says in some period of time where if you are faithful over the little things, I will make you faithful over the big things. And I firmly believe, I tell people all the time, if there's something you want to do, you have to be doing it already before you can get paid to do it. You have to already be doing it. If you love baking cakes and you love to decorate cakes, you will do that whether you're getting paid or not, because you love it and you're passionate about it, no matter where you are. And the Bible also says that your gifts will make room for you. So if you're using your gifts in those insignificant places that you believe that are insignificant, God will recognize and he will raise you in a place where you can use them in greater areas of the world and in your life. So I would just encourage you, wherever you are, it doesn't matter if you work in sanitation, it doesn't matter if you work in the back kitchen, at Big Boy where you're cooking pancakes and doing the breakfast buffet. I did that in high school. But when you're faithful over those little things, God will raise you and put you in a place where maybe you will be a chef of a company one day. Maybe you'll be leading a team at a large Fortune 500. Maybe you will be leading your own brand or your own company because you were faithful in those little things. And that's my encouragement, because that has been true in every area of my life. Whenever I am faithful over small things, I have always been raised to do things on a greater, grander scale.
And it's truly worked out for you.
Yeah.
And it's not just worked out to you. One of the quotes that I live by is, your obedience is attached to someone else's destiny.
Oof.
We're not obedient to the call and to the gift or to the anointing that's on our lives, then someone else destiny will be sacrificed. Someone else won't be able to have that mentor, that person that's that hope doctor, or that person that is supposed to raise them up from the place in the ashes of where they are.
Yes.
And your obedience has allowed for so many companies and people around the world to be impacted, not just from your speeches, but from your words, from your post, and from your presence. But you haven't just written one book. You're now working on a second book called Avocado Leadership.
Yes, sir.
What inspired that book, and what do you hope that readers gain from reading that book?
Yeah, so I would say about 3 years ago, a company just went through a transition acquisition, and they were trying to beat the drum of the core values of the company for their employees. And they hired me to come speak at their annual meeting to all of the employees, and they wanted me to have some sort of thread about core values. And I did a keynote, and then we did a workshop. And what I did was I created a workshop solely around leading from the core. And I trademarked this workshop. It's called Leading from the Core, by which the makeup of a good ripe avocado is the makeup of what a good leader should be. The makeup of a good ripe avocado has thick, tough skin, but it's easy to cut through. The middle is soft and it's ready to be nourishing and plentiful. But then there's that seed that is very hard and steadfast right in the middle. And the same is true with a leader. Leaders should have thick skin. They shouldn't be too emotional. They shouldn't get too happy, too sad. They should be able to be weathered and put in any environment and thrive. But they should also have that soft, empathetic middle where they are willing to understand their employees and their team and listen to them and be soft with them, have those soft skills, but also have that hard core of their values, their core values. I firmly believe that core values of any company are like love languages in any relationship, right? Everybody understands the 5 love languages. My 2 love languages, and my wife knows, is words of affirmation and acts of service. That's right. And often I love people in that way. I'm going to give you compliments. I'm going to pour into you, but I'm also going to do for you. I will do free stuff for you. I help you build your website. I would help you, bring in the groceries, whatever it might be. I'm going to do some service to and for you because that's the way that I want to be loved, right? But it's the same thing with how you lead. Most leaders lead the way that they want to be led. And at least the good ones. So when we have those strong core values that are unwavering, and we have that soft middle that is empathetic and loving, but we have thick skin where we don't fly off the handle, and we can take criticism, we can take feedback, and we can be put in any environment that like an avocado can and still thrive, then we will become great leaders. So my next book is called Avocado Leadership, and I'm hoping to release it in early 2026.
So that we're talking about it now, since I get the sneak peek, unless you make me hold this episode until 2026.
No, you can share it.
What does that look like in practice? And I know that one of the things that I love about you is that you're very tactical while also being practical. And I think a lot of times when we have these conversations, and you see it all the time, especially on LinkedIn, is that there's a lot of philosophy with no tactic.
Yep.
Where it's these grand quotes and perspectives, but how does this play out in a school, or how does this play out within an organization when we think about leading from the core?
Yeah. So again, every company, every entity, every enterprise has core values, right? What they believe in, what they stand for, what they will always lean back. But every individual in that enterprise has their own core values, right? The core values of a company might be service, it might be integrity, it might be empathy, it might be giving, right? That might be the core values. But the core values of the individual might be your leaders, it might be your managers, it might be your employees. They might be a little different, right? And understanding and figuring out what the core values, and I have a strategy and a tool for people to figure out what the core values of their teams are, and understanding how to lead people and what is important to them. But if leaders don't care what's important to their employees, then they're not going to lead them correctly. So if you're a principal of a school and you have several different teachers, right? About how many teachers are in a normal elementary school?
Probably 50, 60.
Yeah, probably 50, 60 elementary teachers, but they all report to the same principal or vice principal, right? Now, every vice principal and principal need to have a relationship individually with each of those teachers so that when there are issues inside the classroom, they know how to support those teachers, right? They understand how to work with the teachers, with the parents, in case they have a problem child or a child that just needs a bit more love, right? Because every child that's going through it doesn't mean that they're bad or that they need to go to a different class. They just might need to be loved a different way, right? And a lot of principals or leaders of organizations like to give feedback. They love to give feedback, but they forget to give feedback with love, right? Or they like to give love without giving the proper feedback. And when we give love without the proper feedback, we're setting people up to be mediocre, right? But when we give feedback without the love, then we're just setting people up for
Just set
right?
people up, period.
Yeah, we're just setting people up, period. So when we can learn to give feedback truly with love and from a good place, in a place that you know that they're going to receive it, that is a great way to show that you are an avocado leader. You have that thick skin where you're willing to give feedback. A lot of people don't like to give feedback because they're just worried that what's going to happen on the other side. But people, great leaders, avocado leaders know that when they give proper feedback with love, they know that they are making the person on the other side better. And that's how we become avocado leaders.
That's so good. I think about the person, even in my experience, that I've connected with and worked with from a leadership perspective. What happens when the organizational values don't necessarily align with the personal values? Like, how as leaders, and maybe this is for me, how as leaders do we navigate those crucial, not just conversations, but crucial times in a leadership position?
Yeah, you find another job. So realistically, it's going to be very, very tough if you do not agree with the mission, vision, and values of the company you work for. If you don't agree with them, it's going to be very tough for you to lead in that organization if you don't believe in the product. So if you're a salesperson and you're selling a product that you know doesn't work, that you're being basically told to lie about in order to make the sale, you're not going to sell it as well as if you do believe in it and you're, as we used to say in marketing, eat your own dog food, right? So if you are selling something that you believe in, that you know works, that you are applying to your own life, then people are going to be more willing to buy it. It's the same exact thing in corporate America or in a company. If the leadership is trying to preach something that they don't believe in, then the people that they're preaching it to, they're going to see right through it. They're not going to believe it. And the leadership that's trying to preach it because they don't believe it coming from top down, it's just not going to work. That's right. One of the reasons why I left the company is because I was told in my leadership position that I could not tell the employees that we knew were going to be laid off. I could not tell them that they need to find other jobs before they got laid off. And I had to go in and lie to people when they asked me, am I at risk? And I know they have families at home. I know that they've been working for the company for so long. And here I am in like compromising my integrity for a company that I don't agree with. Right. And that's therein lie where the rub starts to happen, where you are putting your own integrity and your own reputation on the line for a company that you don't even agree with anyway. So when these people leave, they're not going to be mad at the company. They're going to be mad at the leader that lied to them.
That's good. And then that ruins your own reputation.
Yes. Yes.
One of the things that you said that really stuck with me is eat your own dog food. And I know it's a simple statement, but I love that. And it leads me to thinking of the educational landscape. There's probably only 5 to 10% of schools around the country that are performing at an elite level.
Yeah.
There's probably an additional 20 to 30% that are in that mid-tier, good schools.
Yep.
The rest of the percentages are schools that are just not doing well. And then there's a major percentage of schools that are just need to be closed immediately. If I am that leader that is recruited, or that consultant, or even that speaker that is recruited to those schools that are not producing results, are not producing good scores, do not have a good population of teachers, are not on track to be able to Like, I wouldn't want to send my child there.
Yeah.
How, as a leader, how, as an individual, how do we have this fail forward mentality and this attitude to still lead from the core when we're called to it or hired in it, but we really just don't see the results in that moment?
Yeah. One of the things, so I've been in a position very similar to that,
Mhm.
where I knew it was a sinking ship. I knew that things just weren't going well. But what I try to do is I try to still pour into the individuals that I had contact with, and in a way that would uplift them and that we could be the lights of the organization. Because at the end of the day, some places just are not going to work. Like it's just going to, the school is going to close. The kids are not going to learn the way that they should. The operations are going to work well. The products probably aren't going to sell, but there is still work to be done even in those areas, right? And I firmly believe no matter where we are, we can be sitting in jail, right? We could make a mistake, be sitting in jail, but there's still work in that jail cell for you to do if there are other human beings in there with you.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
In the Bible, they talk about Paul and Silas. They were jailed. They were getting ready to be killed the next day. And at midnight, they began to praise and worship.
Yeah.
And the jailers, the other prisoners are looking at them like, what in the world are you praising God for? You're about to die tomorrow. And then they saw the power of God through them. So sometimes you're going to be planted in a place where you should not grow, where you should not bear fruit. But if you remember, roses grow through concrete.
Mm.
And sometimes I was just walking down the street, downtown Detroit, and after church we went to Hopcat, and there's nothing but concrete walls on the side of Hopcat, and concrete sidewalks, and there were a bunch of like flowers growing from the crack of the building, and I'm looking like, where are these even coming from? How is the water getting down there? Where is the soil that they're growing from? Roses grow through concrete. No matter where you're planted, bloom.
That's good. You have some of the most profound stories. What is a story in your life that you've heard or even that you've written that still sticks with you today and gives you goosebumps?
Oh man. I think I would say one of the most profound stories that I've heard is probably the story of the old Chinese farmer that lost his horse. And for those who've never heard this, there's a story of an old Chinese farmer that once lost his horse, and all the villagers came around. They said, "That's bad fortune, isn't it?" He says, "Maybe." The next day, the Chinese farmer's horse returned with 7 wild horses, and all the villagers came around. They said, "That's great fortune, isn't it?" He says, "Maybe." The next day, the Chinese farmer's son took out one of the wild horses to try to tame it. He was thrown off the horse's back and he broke his leg. All the villagers came around. They said, "That's bad fortune, isn't it?" He says, "Maybe." The next day, the Chinese emperor ordered all able-bodied men to join the war because they were going to war with the neighboring country. In that war, many men were maimed and many were killed, but the Chinese farmer's son was saved because his leg was broken. And all the villagers came around. They said, "That's great fortune. Your son was saved, isn't it?" The Chinese farmer's son simply replied, "Maybe." In China, there's a saying: whenever anything bad happens or even good happens, they say Sai Wu Shima. Sai Wu Shima means remember the old Chinese farmer that once lost his horse, because he understood that life wasn't happening to him. Life was actually happening for him. And no matter what happens in your life, good or bad, things are going to happen, good and bad, in your life. Everybody is going to go through things in your life. If you haven't gone through anything in your life, just live long enough. It's going to happen. And when it does, remember the old Chinese farmer that lost his horse. Tell yourself, Sai Wu Shima, whatever I'm going through right now is all working for my good. Romans 8:28 says, "For we know that all things work together for the good, to those that love God and those that are called according to his purpose." You can look back and say, "Man, I'm glad that boyfriend or that girlfriend dumped me in high school. I would not be married to my husband or wife today. I'm so glad I lost that job or got fired a long time ago because I wouldn't be in the career that I'm in today." I'm so glad that those friends that I thought were my best friends, I'm glad that they didn't invite me to that party because they're all in jail or dead and I am still alive to tell the story. Life and everything that happens is hindsight. But if you can have foresight to know that what you're going through right now, and have the foresight to know that whatever is happening right now is going to be work for your good later, then you'll remember that life isn't happening to you, but it's happening for you.
That's it. That's it, John. That's it. One of the oh my gosh, attitude, which is from a place of gratitude.
Yes.
Foresight and faith.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the few words that I heard in that story. Just having a perspective of gratitude, being able to remain faithful even when you don't see it, like faith in the unseen, but then also that foresight to believe in the promise before it's happened.
Yes.
Jacob, if I was in that place where I say, Jacob, I'm ready. Like I'm ready to begin to turn my failures into fuel. I'm ready to start leading from the core. I'm ready to have that same mindset of foresight, of faith, of gratitude. Where do I begin? What is my first step?
Your first step is to take out a pen and a piece of paper. And I have all my coaching clients do this. And I do this every 6 months. Okay. I want you to take out a piece of paper and a pen. And I could probably find a page in this book where I've done this. And I want you to write down a letter to yourself 6 months from now. 6 months from now, what type of letter would you want to be reading to yourself? Okay. And let me give you an example. 6 months from now, I want to read a letter and says, hey, Jake, the last 6 months have been absolutely great. You have lost another 20 pounds. You're working out 3 to 4 days a week. You've been walking and running 2 to 3 miles every single morning, and your health has never been better. You're fitting in your suits and you're walking across stages with more confidence than you ever have. You and your wife just celebrated 10 years of marriage, and you guys went back to the place where you went on your honeymoon. Your relationship with your sons have gotten even better, especially the one that has got out of your house and he's a freshman in college, because now you understand how much you miss him and how much he misses you. And you guys are building more relationships. You're having lunch once every other week together, and you're catching up and you're giving him the tools to be a better man that you wish you were at his age. Your baby girl is dancing away. She's also doing competitive dance all over the country. Your baby boy is doing competitive baseball, and your second son, Connor, has gotten 4 scholarship offers all over the country. Life is good. You are whole, you are wholesome, and life is good. Keep going. If I were to read that letter, and when I read that letter in 6 months, my life, I will be happy with where I am. But I have to write it down. If you don't write down what you want your life to be, if you don't write down what you want your goals to be, then how can you expect anyone to believe them, especially the one that looks back at you in the mirror? If you want to get serious about your goals, if you want to get serious about your leadership, you want to get serious about your marriage, your relationship, your friendship, about your health, then you need to write it down, because once it's written down, that's when you begin to hold yourself accountable. So write yourself a 6-month letter, because 6 months down the line, consciously or subconsciously, your body, your mind, your goals will start to be going towards it and not away from it.
How can we support you? You've given us literally in 40 minutes a masterclass on how to approach your life differently from a place of purpose and fulfillment. How can we sow those seeds into your career, into your life as well? What's next, and how can we support you?
Yeah. So one of the small things that people don't realize means so much to me. And I mentioned my love language is words of affirmation. So when people comment on my posts and they say, I really needed to hear this today,
Mm.
something as small as that is what motivates me to keep going every day, to keep creating content, to keep sharing, to keep posting, to keep empowering, because I know it's landing somewhere. Because sometimes we can be going and going and going and not feeling like it's working until someone lets you know, hey, it's working. I'm hearing this. I'm feeling this. I needed this today. So something as small as this, and you don't have to just do this for me, do this for other people that encourage you, that you love, that you need. Let them know, like tell them, hey, I really appreciate you. What you do every single day really impacts my life. I know I don't tell you enough, but I just want to tell you today. If I don't tell you enough, today I want to let you know I love you, I appreciate you, and what you do means something to me, and I know it means something to somebody else. Something that small is a game changer. That's a game changer to me. If you hear of anybody that might need to hear my message, or any audience or any company, share with me, share my name, share my website, and I would love to have a conversation with them. Because if it's a good fit, then I would love to work with them and to continue the work that I feel like God has purposed me to do.
Jacob, we appreciate you so much, more than words could even communicate. Everybody listening right now, I want you to go buy 5 copies of Jacob's book, and not just for you, but it's important for you to sow seeds into other people. I think a lot of times we buy books and we do things only for us, and we hoard information so that we could advance. But what I'm communicating, if you don't have it to buy 5, just buy 2, so that you can now be held accountable, but then also sow into someone else. I also, if you're a leader, if you're a speaker, if you are somebody that hires speakers in your school or in your district, I want you to hire Jake, because I've seen it firsthand. My own mother has seen it firsthand. So I know that he is somebody that can be trusted, that is somebody that's going to transform your audiences, not just on stage in that hour, but the totality of the experiences that they will share throughout or after his speech ends as well. Again, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. And one of the questions that we always ask is, what culture are you spreading? Culture is everywhere and in anything, and the energy you bring is the culture you create. Make yours worth catching. We'll see you next episode.